Hey guys, what's up? It's Samantha, and I'm finally back with another Plan With Me. We are jumping way back in time. This is the week of June 15th through the 21st, which was quite a while ago, but I actually put the foundation of this spread down weeks and weeks and weeks ago, but I've been in a lupus flare, and I've been feeling like crap for the past few weeks. It's not been fun, not enjoyable, and if you are new here or you don't know, when I have lupus flares, my hand joints tend to be disproportionately affected, and it's hard for me to write, to put down stickers, to sit in a chair, which has nothing to do with my hands, but all my joints just hurt. It's not a good time. But I did read some good books this week, and I want to talk about them. And I do like how this spread turned out. I ended up using a ton of scripts just because it was easier than holding a pen to write everything out. It's just easier on my hands to put down scripts. So sometimes I just went close enough with the scripts. I just picked something that was approximating what was going on just to make my life a little easier. If you aren't familiar with how I plan, I do have my main planner where I tend to write things in more detail or things that I am just wanting to write down and share for myself that maybe I'll cover up with a post-it note or something before I post a picture on Instagram. But here it's more just, it's about the aesthetics and talking about the generalities of the week, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in to the books that I read this week. If I'm being honest, I don't remember much of anything that happened this week. It would probably help if I opened my planner to the spread. Oh, there's just so much gold foil. This is a real shiny spread. This is perhaps one of the shiniest spreads I've ever done. So, that's saying something. But I guess the only thing of note that happened this week is my parents came to visit on Wednesday, and my dad and Joe did some landscaping outside, and we got some new plants outside, which was nice. We've only been here for 3 years and finally did some landscaping, but it happens. So the first book I finished this week was You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson, and this book was absolutely delightful. This is a YA contemporary that follows our main character, Liz Lightly. She is queer, she's Black, she lives in a rural Indiana town that is obsessed with prom, and every year prom king and queen get scholarships for college. And when a scholarship that Liz Lightly has applied for falls through, she doesn't get it, she decides she's going to run for prom queen. She is not the typical prom queen in her town, and it's fun, it's delightful. Obviously, there's some underlying heavier subjects at play there. That Liz feels like she's from the other side of the wrong side of the train tracks kind of thing. But there's just the friendship in this is so wonderful, and there's a romance, and it's wonderful, and everything about this book is just wonderful. I had the biggest smile on my face from beginning to end. This is the kind of YA contemporary that I want to continue to see more and more of. I want fun, fluffy, lighthearted contemporaries featuring diverse characters that aren't just about trauma. I want books featuring Black joy and every other thing that isn't just generic white bread middle America teen joy. I loved this book so much. I gave it 4 stars. It was a grand old time. It was fun, it was fluffy, it was lighthearted. You should read it. It's a really quick read. I think it was just over 300 pages. It was a blast. What more can I say? I hope this gets made into a Netflix movie because I want to watch it. It was so much fun. And then the next book I read was Shorefall by Robert Jackson Bennett, and this is the sequel to Foundry Side, and I really enjoyed this as well. I also gave it 4 stars. It didn't quite live up to Foundry Side for me, and I can't really go into why without spoilers, but this was still such a fun, enticing, fast-paced read, and I love the characters so much. This series is so good. I like, I'm looking here at my Goodreads review because it's been a while since I read it and I needed to refresh my mind. I should have done this before I started recording, but did I? No. I am wildly unprepared for the day. To quote that, what's the name with the beings, Nathan Pyle? Yeah. Whatever, I can't remember the name of what, like, his book actually is. But I had an issue, like, the villain was a little too mustache twirling. Like, there's a villain monologue. I don't know. And I also felt like I really appreciated the hard magic system in the first book, and some of the rules of the magic system get a little fuzzy here, instead of characters just having to be, like, use creativity and, like ingenuity to work within the rules of the magic system. In this, it felt like it was a little more convenient and rule bending, but not in a I don't know if that makes sense. If you've read the book, maybe you know what I'm talking about. I don't know. Foundry Side is still, like, top tier, 5 out of 5 stars. Shorefall was a really good time, just not quite the level of perfection I was expecting after how amazing Foundry Side was, but still a really awesome, solid book 2. And maybe it's like book 2 syndrome, and the third book's going to be 5 stars again. We'll see. I don't know. But still really enjoyed it. Still highly recommend this series. It's just a blast. The characters are great. Everything about this series is great. I love it. I don't know what else to say. The next book I read was actually a nonfiction title, and it was So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijeoma Oluo. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. I watched about 15 clips of her saying her name and other people saying her name, and watched them over and over and over again, trying to make sure I was saying it correctly. So I think I'm saying her name correctly. If I'm not, I apologize. I'm really trying to make sure I'm saying her name correctly. So this was awesome. 5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend. It just gave me a lot of constructive tools, I guess, like, to put in my toolbox for how to have conversations about race. And it really challenged me to think about, or, like, I don't know, change my perspective, or how to have more productive conversations around race, and how to have conversations that are uncomfortable, and how to say things that maybe I might have kind of in the past tried to, like, pussyfoot around, if that makes sense. Stuff that is just uncomfortable to talk about, that you're sort of conditioned to not talk about those things. I will say this is not a book that I would give to someone who you're trying to convince that race is a conversation that needs to be had. This is a book to give to someone who is already there, like, on the page of, we need to talk about this. This is a problem. There are inequalities. Like, I have arrived at that conclusion. Now, how do I feel uncomfortable talking about it. How do I talk about it? And I really appreciated what this book did. I'll also say the audiobook was really awesome. It's narrated by Bonnie Turpin, who is one of my all-time favorite audiobook narrators. There have been many books I have listened to just because she was the narrator. So if you are looking for something to put on during your commute while you're working out, you just want to, you know, if that's how you're gonna, like, get through something, if you're like, well, I'm not the kind of person that sits down and reads nonfiction, the audiobook was fantastic. It felt like listening to a friend talk to you or something. I love Bonnie Turpin so much. But yeah, overall, amazing, amazing book, and stuff that I took away from this will be with me for the rest of my life. And it's a book that I can definitely see myself returning to certain sections of it, for how to continue to improve my ability to talk about race and have those really difficult conversations. And then the last book that I finished this week was Ghost Story by Jim Butcher, which was number 13 of the Dresden Files. And I only gave this 3 stars. So this wasn't a bad book, but I didn't like it as much as I've liked a lot of the other stuff. Like the later Dresden Files books, there's a lot of 5 stars in there, but this one, and spoiler alert for the next video, the next one I really didn't like. This one I still liked, but it felt like that one weird musical episode that TV shows do for some strange reason, like that musical episode of Buffy or Grey's Anatomy or whatever, it feels like you threw the formula in the trash can and all the characters you know and love are just doing really weird and strange things, or like an episode where they go back and it's like an alternate reality, like what if this person hadn't done this thing, or there was someone hits their head and then they're like hallucinating, some weird alternate reality where the preppy cheerleader is all goth, and that's kind of what this book felt like to me. And I can't say anything more because otherwise it's wildly spoilery. But yeah, it just wasn't, it just didn't quite work for me. I think I might be in the minority. There was nothing wrong with this book. I just didn't like the wild deviation from the formula, which I think ultimately makes the next few books in the series more interesting. Well, not Cold Days, but like Skin Game and Peace Talks and Battleground are infinitely more interesting because of how this shakes things up. But just, it felt weird. And then, like, you kind of have this knowledge. There's, like, a plot twist that if you, like, at the end of, something happens at the end of Changes, which is book 12, which sets up this book. And you kind of know, because you know that there's other books after this, that this new scenario isn't permanent. And I think that takes away from some of the tension and what gives it that, oh, this is the weird musical episode, but a book version feel to this book, because you know that this isn't going to be how it's always going to be, that this is just a one book detour into weird land, and then we're going back to normal in the next book. So it just, I don't know how else to communicate that without dropping spoilers. So that is all I can say about that. Like I said, I gave it 3 stars. Did I give it any points? Like 3.5? Let's open up my Goodreads review. Like I said, wildly unprepared. Nope, literally no review. It is blank. I wrote nothing except at 77%, I said this is like the book equivalent of that one weird musical episode a TV show, or your favorite TV show did. It breaks the fictional world and the whole thing is ridiculously stupid, but you push through it because you know you'll be back to normal in the next episode. Like, yeah, that's still how I feel about this. So, yeah, that was everything that I read this week. And this is the finished spread. And when we go into the Weagle, wow, I can't talk. My brain is broken. I have no idea what this voiceover is going to sound like when I go back and edit it all in, because I feel like I am over it. I'm over everything. 2020 is just clown world, and I'm like, June, this feels like 7 years ago. But, it happens. Only in 2020. So this Wiggle is glorious. Look at that. Look at that shine. Look at that Wiggle. I have those gorgeous foil, like quarter boxes, labels, half boxes from Scribble Prints Co. I'm just obsessed with how it turned out. There's so much good foil. Simply Gilded, Scribble Prints Co., Magic Prints Co., Clever Gal Crafts. Sorry if I'm missing any shine in there. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you in my next one. Bye, guys.